Look at the world around us, right? We have these very huge acute global challenges in the form of climate change, global warming, the lack of social cohesion in many countries, the increasing social inequalities. And corporate social innovation is a new type of innovation that we observe in the business world. And it has to do with all those new ideas, new processes, new products, or even new business models that are specifically geared towards solving some type of environmental or social issue.
A lot of the problems we're talking about have always been thought of as the domain of governments. Only governments can solve these big intractable challenges in society. Now, we then have been through a system where governments have started to commission private sector organisations or apparently partner with them, but actually they've done it on an existing model. Now what we're seeing is government starting to understand it is an actor in solving some of these challenges, and definitely in changing the institutional regime or the legal framework. It can scale and enable them very quickly, but it's unlikely to generate the actual technical solution or the innovative, creative new service or approach that's going to work.
We've seen the corporation over the years solving the production problem, right? But now the challenge through social innovation is to bring those problem-solving skills, if you like, to this brand new domain of problems, and doing so with the support or the synergies, if you like, that come with a capitalist system. This is not to say that the capitalist system doesn't have its own pathologies, of course, like short-termism, as the recent financial crisis has shown. But on the other hand, one would dare say that perhaps it's the best system that we have at our disposal, and rather than overthrowing the entire system, perhaps we should focus on how do we improve that collaboration and that synergy between corporations and capital markets so that we're able to allocate capital to those organizations that are sustainable, that create economic, but also create positive environmental as well as social value.
I think one of the dimensions that's now starting to come to the fore is whether the investor community is on side with this way of thinking, is sensing this trend. Are they understanding there's a public interest in it? Are they understanding that there's a business interest in it? And how are they themselves going to adjust and amend what's often criticised as a very short-termist approach to the flows of finance in business and to shareholding in business, and take a more medium to long-term interest in future strategy and growth opportunity and in societal contribution?
Some of the drivers of social innovation that we have discovered in some work we did with colleagues like George Serafim at the Harvard Business School said, well, maybe it's the stakeholder engagement, maybe it's the adoption of longer term time horizons, maybe it's the integration of financial as well as non-financial information, and maybe it's also the ability of this corporation to attract high quality talent in terms of the employees that they admit into their company. We're kind of a long way from finding the perfect example, right? Because this domain is so new, this kind of innovation is so difficult to achieve. But we do see bright examples out there in the form of, let's say, Unilever, right? Or companies like Nike or companies like Puma that come up with environmental profit and loss. We see some very bright examples that integrate this kind of innovation into their business model. Although even those leaders are ahead of the pack, but they're far from getting to what one would define as a sustainable organization that socially innovates and is going to be around 30, 50, 60 years down the road.